For you this afternoon. I am joined by award-winning illustrator Mary Jane Begin. She is here chatting with us today, and you're going to show us some of your beautiful paintings.
Yes, I am.
So thank you so much for joining us today on this lovely Friday. You were here with us last time showing us some of your illustrations, and you kind of walked us through the process, and it was so great to see some of your picture books and how you walked us through the process of how you created these characters and how it came about. So that was cool.
Thank you.
And today we are showing something totally different, a different side of your very creative personality. You have a show coming up at the Providence Art Club, and we are talking about something totally different. So you're showing us some of your paintings, and we're talking landscapes.
Landscapes, a wildly different venue than characters and objects and detail. It's pullback time. And the reason why I decided to do this was because I wanted to step outside my comfort zone, and I felt like I've always done characters, I've always done stories, and so what would it be like to try to capture the mood and the sort of general story or narrative of a landscape, but specifically a seascape, after the sun goes down, or just as the time when the sun is going down, or at nighttime. So I explored that in some little bitty paintings and some really big paintings.
Wow, wow. And again, so vastly different from characters.
Yeah.
And so wanted to just kind of get your insight, and of course wanted to get a preview of your show coming up. And so we're going to take a look at some of that. What is it like for you to be able to go out and to step outside something that's so, I mean, it's 180. It's so different from what you're normally used to doing. What was it like for you as an artist to be able to step outside of your comfort zone?
Well, so when you get used to doing something, and it's the thing you know how to do, you feel like you know the rhythm, you know the plan. But it's really exciting when you don't know the rhythm and the plan. You know, when you're flying by the seat of your pants, you're trying something you haven't tried before, there's the opportunity of failure. There's the opportunity where something might not work out. And I was ready to take that risk. I thought, well, if I make some paintings I don't like, I don't show them. I won't show them at the PAC, the Providence Art Club. So I had that in my mindset that I could do as many paintings as I liked, and I would just choose the ones that I thought were the best ones. And that freed me up to say, well, if it turns out badly, who's going to see it besides me?
That's true.
The other thing is there was a freeing aspect of I'm a painter. So instead of painting like this, you know, close, I was painting with my arm. So I stood to paint many of these paintings. So I was doing these big, broad strokes of color and texture. And that was it was just therapeutic. It just felt different and felt really good. You try something new and it feels good. It's like, wow, I wouldn't have known this unless I tried it. So I think to be an artist, you have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to. Otherwise, I think you get bored. And you also, you don't feel that adrenaline rush of like, whoa, this could be terrible. Which it feels like skiing. You know, when you're skiing and you're like, oh my gosh, can I make these turns? Am I going to get down that hill without, you know, killing myself? It's that excitement when you're painting and you're drawing or making, and there's a risk of it going really awry, and there always is. But more so when you're doing something you've never really done before.
It seems like almost like that would be very freeing, very liberating to do something that you're not comfortable with, but also to try something new. But we have to put it in perspective. You have built yourself up as an illustrator, as an artist. You have a steady job. You've built yourself up, so you've made yourself, you've given yourself an opportunity and allowed yourself to fail.
No question. No question. And it's not like these are things I don't know anything about. I know about color. I know about watercolor painting. I know about light. So I had some pieces that I knew. They were just some things that were things I didn't know. But it's true that when you have a little bit of a, you know, that's a safety zone. Yeah. You know, it wasn't like I was trying shifting careers 180 degrees and then, you know.
Going into space for the first time.
Exactly.
Like
that, you know, that would really be a huge risk. And people do that. Some people do that. So it's like a little risk. But what was interesting is that I'd never thought to do landscapes until I had this experience of going out to Kansas. Okay. And I went there with my sweetheart, who's from Kansas, and everyone kept saying to me, "Oh, Kansas, landscape's so boring. It's so flat. It's so uninteresting." So that was my expectation. And then I got out there, and there's a place called the Flint Hills, which is these rolling, sloping hills, and you can see for miles.
Wow.
And it looks like the sky is just weighing down on the land, and it was spectacularly beautiful. And then you'd see the, like the grass would be blowing in the wind, and there'd be one tree, one little sad low tree leaning into the wind, and I was like, oh my God, there was story. I mean, I felt like I could see something I'd never seen before in a landscape, because here, there's a lot of trees. It's not one single tree on the landscape. So I took a lot of pictures, and that inspired me to do my first set of landscapes probably about 3 years ago. And it was the first time I'd ever done a landscape.
Wow.
I brought them. They're teeny, teeny, tiny. I wanted to show you because I wanted to see like where it started and where it went. So should I grab it?
Yep, let's do it. Let's see. And I like this because what I like I like a lot of things about you. But one, you're so fun to talk to and kind.
You
but
are too.
I like, well, thank you. That's nice of you. But you always show us the progression of where it started, and so I like to be able to see that. I like to see that progression.
Well, for me, it's the way that I put it in context. How did this happen? And so I'm always deconstructing. That's just the way I think. So I'm glad that you appreciate that.
Oh, I do. I think other people do as well. Okay, so this is where it all started, the landscape where it all started. I think that's pretty good for starting.
Well, it's funny, I don't know if the reflection, I hope it can be seen in terms of reflection, because there's glass on this, but...
We'll find out in a second.
This is called, it's like a salt house, and that's where they keep salt. And I didn't know what it was for, but I just thought the shape was really cool. So I took this photograph painting this thing I didn't even know what it was, because the light was really amazing and the grasses are amazing.
Okay.
So there's a simplicity about the landscape, and this is very common in Kansas. And here's the...
And will these be part of the show at the Providence Art Club?
These are not.
Okay,
These are
so we're getting a behind the scenes.
Exactly. This is the lone tree. This was a single little sad tree. Not sad, I would say the persevering tree that was on the landscape that just... I looked at it and I was like, wow, you feel like that sometimes, like alone against the wind. And they're strong, really solid tree. They have to be, because they're not standing with a cluster of other trees, they're alone. So I was captivated by that. And so I had to paint it in this little tiny painting. And you can see these are very detailed and noodly.
This is paint?
It's paint and watercolor and color pencil. Wow. So there's a lot of drawing in here, and these were much more noodly than the ones that I did for this
My goodness.
show. But these, really did get me to a space. There's a train in the background, and it is flat-ish, but the color stripes just looked like...
It's incredible.
It just looked, to me, it was like...
It is, it's so inspiring.
It's just shapes of color. That's really what I was focused on. It wasn't an object per se. But of course I had to paint each little flower.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful in the detail. It makes me want to hang it on my wall.
Well, these actually came from my sweetheart Tim Mize' studio, where he makes jewelry, and I pulled them off the wall. I'm like, show these to Molly, and whoever else wants to see them.
I'm borrowing
They're
these
coming
today.
So this is, this was the start. And then I segued from there. I hadn't done a landscape since that time. I think I did a couple for the Providence Art Club. They call it the Little Picture Show, which happens in November.
Okay.
It's a very cool show. Nothing can be bigger than 16 by 16.
Oh, that's neat.
With a frame. So that means a tiny painting. It's a very cool show, and you can't price it for higher than $300. Nothing can be higher than that. So it's a very popular show for people to collect art.
Yeah, that's neat.
It's really neat, and I did some paintings last year for that, sold some of those. So that gave me the idea, like, okay, I could do a show at the PAC. What should I do? I'm like, I could show some of my children's book stuff, or I could do landscapes.
Let's figure this out. Yeah.
So I wrote up a little proposal, sent it off, and I'm like, they won't want to have to do that. And then they said yes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a group show. 2 other women are showing their work, still lives and cityscapes. And Lenny Rumpler is showing his photography. So it's Lorraine Hines, Kelly McCullough, Lenny Rumpler, and myself showing in the Maxwell Maze Gallery. So, then I was like, okay, I've committed. Now I have to make these paintings.
Now I actually have to do the work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it gave Tim and I an excuse to go to, I was obsessed with the light at Barrington Beach. When the sun goes down, the sky's always different. It's always different. The light is always different. So it encouraged us to go down there, bottle of wine, and sit and watch the sun go down, and then photograph. And I would photograph all along that whole coastal view. It starts at Rumstick Point and goes over to like where Warwick is, and that whole panorama. So I would just take all these pictures and see what inspired me. I took a lot of photographs in all different kinds of conditions, and then chose ones that I thought would be best for paintings. So I brought a few.
Let's see 'em.
These are not the framed ones because those are too heavy.
We're getting an inside peek. And the show is called The Edge of Light. It runs from October 22nd to November 8th. So you have a couple days to head over to the Providence Art Club and see. Now, let me ask you this. Did you ever do any paintings while you're actually at the beach, or did you just take the photos and then do all the work in your studio?
So I didn't do it in what's called plein air painting because plein air painting means you have to park yourself wherever you are and paint. And
I would think that'd be so difficult.
You usually have to do watercolor, or you could do oils, but you really have to have the setup for that.
Yeah.
And I have friends who do that a lot, and I would be encouraged to do that. But for the way that I work, especially with these, I need a big space. All my watercolors, I couldn't transport that. So I was like, I'll have to do this from photography. But what was cool is
you were there seeing it.
I was seeing it, and they were my photographs, but I was able to analyze the color in the photographs, and that's really a fun thing, is to extrapolate what is the palette based on what I'm seeing here, and then I would build the color from there. And it would often be like, what's the underpinning color? I work with grounds. So what's that underpinning color that's connecting every other color? And I start with a study. I'd always do a little one, and then I would do the big one. So I would explore and experiment with
my goodness,
a little tiny painting. That's,
oh my goodness.
And this one is, I'm trying to think, what did I name this? Not Shades of Gray, but it was a very, very gray day. Actually, I entitled this Hope.
It's gorgeous.
Because the light is just a little sliver of light behind this very heavy cloud.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. And I did it all underpinning. I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a brownish tone. It's this tone right here is under all of this other color. So the blues lay on top of the brown, but that's what helps to connect the whole thing.
That's incredible. I don't even know how to talk about that. Well, I don't know how you make that happen without a whole thing just looking brown.
Well,
or turning into a big blob. But you're like, that's why I'm a professional.
Well, this is pastel on top of that, and the pastel is sort of opaque, so it sits on top and it kind of buries the brown. So you go from showing the brown, showing a little bit of the brown, to burying it completely where the blue really exists. Cool. So yeah, now this is a little one.
Okay, so that's a little one. So now let's see the big version.
The big version.
And so how long would that take you?
Oh my gosh, the little one a couple hours, and this one like a day. These didn't take.
Seems relatively fast.
Yeah, it doesn't take me that long because I'm trying to keep it kind of loose and free. I don't, flip them out.
You can stand up if you need to.
Okay, I think I will.
I'm the one who can't really stand. Wow.
I don't know if it'll fit on the screen, but
oh my goodness.
So that's the big version of that one.
That's gorgeous. And so I feel like you added a little bit more detail as it
gets bigger.
As it gets bigger, yeah.
I start to see more things when I zoom in. I just start to, and I also imagine things, like things that aren't there. I just get them in there because I think they'll look cool.
Plus, you can't see as far when you're when it's in a photograph. Exactly. Okay, as we kind of wrap up here, can you show us a couple more? Because I know you definitely have some more color.
I do. These are the gray day, and then I tried to play with all different types of light.
And I feel like when I've been to Barrington Beach, I actually was just looking at a photo from a year ago when I was at Barrington Beach reading my book, and the sky was like this. I mean, you just get the most amazing colors.
It's spectacular.
And it's
a painter's dream.
You captured it. I mean, this is actually what you captured it, and that is gorgeous. So, talk to me just a little bit about, and you'll pull up another one. This one looks like it was in the evening, or
this was actually
night.
We went down there at night, and then I played
cool.
with the light on my camera to try to tweak up what was actually being seen.
Wow!
And so it was really just for me, again, shapes of color and some texture. And there was a single light. It's called Last Light. It's a tiny little dot of light. That was the only light on the whole. It was late. We were down there. We'd been up with friends, and we just went down. It was probably midnight. So there was one little light, and I don't know, it just appealed to me, and super fun to paint. A lot of pastel on top of watercolor.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. So how do you get it to be? Is there one? Because you showed us the one that had brown underneath. Yep. What would be the baseline underneath this?
I bet you can tell. I bet if
green.
Yeah, it's this blue-green color.
Blue, okay.
Yeah, the blue-green color is the color right here. Is really underpinning this whole painting.
I'm learning, everyone.
You are. You got it. And then there's the last one. Is this actually? It was up in Maine. My mother had sent a photo that I was in love with, and I said, I'm going to make a painting out of that. I can't stand it.
Oh my goodness, this is just gorgeous.
I think it's called Nightshade. It's like a curtain coming down on the day.
Do you name your paint? Do you name them all?
I have to for the show.
Okay.
Okay. But typically, the names would just come automatically. I would think it would just pop into my head, and I'd be like, okay, that's right. The last one I did, though, I had named Cloud 13 because it was the 13th painting, which is funny because it's a Friday the 13th.
Friday. So, okay, yeah. So this I was like, ooh, you have to do Friday the 13th, and I was like, it'll be lucky, I promise. And you said, yeah, it's
the lucky number.
Please explain this to us before we go.
So that I changed to hope because I wanted to be ending on a hopeful note. But I will share that 13 is a lucky number for me. This is a little change of subject. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2013. I had surgery, and everything's been great. Everything's been fine. But there was a test, whether I should take chemotherapy or not, or get it. And the test is called an Oncotype test. And if you land under the number 20, you don't have to get chemotherapy. And mine was 13. So I was like, I didn't have to do chemo.
13 is your
because
number.
13 is my number. So when you said, oh, can we do Friday 13? I'm like, yeah. That's why there's 13 paintings in the show as well. Because it's my new lucky number.
I'm a strong believer that things happen for reasons,
Yes,
and you get signs from the universe and whatever reason it is. So 13. So I think we'll probably have to have you back on another 13th, right?
I love it.
So much excitement, good things, positive things happen.
Yes.
Glad that you're healthy.
Thank you.
And always love chatting with you and seeing your beautiful artwork. So go see her show.
There's an opening.
Okay, when is that?
That is October 22 from 2 to 4 at the PAC, the Providence Art Club, and there's going to be wine and treats and all this great art to see. We can come to.
I would love that. Will you be there chatting with people?
I will absolutely be there
Cool.
chatting with people, yes.
Oh, cool. And a couple other artists as well, you mentioned them, but so a couple other artists displaying their work as well. So go out and support them. So Mary Jane Begin, thank you so much for joining us today and just giving us a little sneak peek of some of